of both teams and individuals through improved soft skills. He comes here tonight from sunny and warm Miami, Florida, although he's happy about being here, to join us at the Bedford Springs Resort from Interactive Training Solutions. So please help me welcome Mr. David Suarez.
Good job. Well, I've got a tough act to follow with that joke there. It's here for Parm. You did a great job with that. All right, how are you guys doing? Oh, come on. I think we can do better than that. It's a Sunday. You're here in beautiful Bedford Springs, Pennsylvania. I was in Key West yesterday, by the way. No joke. And this is like my personal John Boehner impersonation right here. I did a bike ride from Miami down to Key West over 2 days. It was 135 miles, and we broke it up into 2 days. And I forgot to put on sunscreen the first day. It was not fun taking a shower that night. So if you see me later on, you may actually see the indentations from my helmet on my forehead. It's pretty. So I'm a little orange tonight. But I want to hear again from you. I love that you love that. That's great. So before we get started, I want to hear from you once again. How are you doing tonight? I think you can do better than that. How are you doing? All right, the GTRA Council veterans, let me hear from you. I heard everybody over here. Are you guys doing well? There you go. See, now that's what you've got to live up to. That's the bar. No, not that bar. You got it. Well, actually, he's drinking right now, so that serves well. All right, I need a volunteer right now. This is very interactive, what we do. I will not make you do improv comedy, I promise. You won't. No, you won't. The jaw can close. It's totally fine. I just need a volunteer. I need somebody who's brave and somebody who's really energetic. There you go. All right. The woman who laughed at me is the woman coming up. This is called revenge. All right, let's give her a round of applause. Whenever anybody comes up, we give them a round of applause. All right, I think we have a microphone. Oh, here. This one will do. So you get to stand at the podium. Now, what is your name?
Maria.
Maria, let's hear it for Maria. I just met a girl named Maria.
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Of course you haven't. It's not a pickup line. I promise. Okay, so here's what I need for you to do, Maria. I need for you to think right now, and don't say anything, but I need for you to think of a word that's never been said before in any language whatsoever. Just think of that word. And when you can think of a word, it's a nonsensical word. It doesn't mean anything to anyone, but it's a word that you've come up with. Go ahead and just let me know by looking happy instead of perplexed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you know it?
Yeah.
Are you ready to go? I want you to stand right here now. Come over to the center, away from the microphone.
Okay.
That was just for Maria. And what I want you to do is I want you to get into your war stance. Can you show me your war stance?
Yeah.
Oh, that was like a breakdown moment. I like that. That was good. Okay, so go ahead and clench your fists, bend your knees. Yeah, there you go, and you're ready to go. I want you to shout out that word as loud as you possibly can when I say 3. Are you ready? No, it's not in English. It's just a word that you've made up.
Okay.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Creosi.
Whoa, what? Okay, all right, that works. That works. Now, here's what I need to know. Do you think she can do a better job? Yeah, all right, this is your audience, and the audience, by the way, is always right. So they think you can do better. I think you can be louder. I think you've got more energy than that.
Okay.
Why don't you go ahead and give that to us again, all right? So I need for you to shout out now, 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3.
Creosi.
All right, creosi. That's the word. I think she can do better than that, but she's going to need some help. Can I have everybody stand up, please? All right. It's a little bit of a workout tonight, folks. All right, great. So you're all standing up. All right, perfect. Now she's going to go ahead and scream out her word as loud as she can, and with the same energy, you are going to do this. You're going to go, yeah, creosi, as loud as you can right back to her. If I yell, I'll break this microphone and probably your eardrum. So you're going to go as loud as you can, as big as you can, all right? You're going to go first. I'll do 1, 2, 3, and then you guys, all of the audience, will go, yeah, creosi. All right, so let's try it. 1, 2, 3.
Creosi.
Yeah, creosi. All right, you've got some power there. All right, let's hear from Maria. Go ahead and sit back down. Thank you so much, Maria. All right. I needed to do that because you have just eaten. I need to make sure you're still awake. Food's settling. I had to get you up and doing something. All right, we can go back to wine drinking. All right, so let's talk about what we're gonna be exploring tonight. Our presentation tonight is called Getting an Exclamation from Your Point. My name is David Suarez, and I'm with Interactive Training Solutions. What I do is I help people get to where they want to go. And I get to do that through corporate training, team building, and executive coaching. It's all based on improv comedy, and we always address soft skills. So that's the fun part about what I get to do. Tonight, what I'm going to help you do is communicate better. And one of my goals is to help you do that specifically at this event. So I'm going to give you some tools. I am here to help you. I'm at your service. I'm at your beck and call. If you want me to refill your glass, just raise your hand. All right, I'm kidding. Later on tonight at the bar, I'll do that though. All right, so let's get started. Now, in talking about oh, that's the phone. If I can ask you all, since we're doing housekeeping, if you could please silence your phones or put them on vibrate, that's fine. It'll feel good, and we can keep this moving. My jokes are falling somewhat flat. All right. I need Parham back up here. He's got to be my joke man. I'll just play the straight man all night. Okay, so we're going to talk about getting an exclamation from your point, very much like what Maria just did for us and what you just did for her in return. So in order to do that, I was talking with our GTRA staff and asking them what were some of the challenges that you were facing. And we talked about challenges. Whoa, I'm a little off on these. We're a little off to the side. Is everything all right with, I think we're off. Or maybe we're a little bit wider than before. I'll try this again. So we had some challenges, and specifically 3 challenges, although with this it might be 4. But we talked about challenges that you're facing, things that you're facing in your everyday lives, specifically with communication. So we wanted to go and dig deep into that. So we talked about this, and we mulled around a number of different topics and ideas, and they kind of floated around out there, which I've represented with some pictures. But ultimately, they boiled down to a couple of things that are slowly coming up. All right. So we have budget cuts. Budget cuts are big right now. Everybody's feeling the crunch from budget cuts. Budgets are getting smaller, and that's difficult. The next one is greater demands on resources. And then ultimately, how to do more with less. These challenges are affecting everyone. Think about it. Budget cuts, we have less to work with. Greater demands on resources, that's a direct impact from those budget cuts. And when we have greater demands on resources, we're going to need to do more with less. Ultimately, we're going to have the same expectations without the same ability or resources to help us get there. But we somehow still have to get there. And that's tough. That's a big challenge. That's not easy for us. So we've got to make this work. So we talked about this, and we diagnosed these as the 3 major challenges that we're going to work on, and specifically with communication. And tonight, I'm going to try to help you as best I can with that. So let's get going. All right. Okay, so, we're missing a little bit of that. Are we all right there? How are we doing back there? I think they're going to reset this for us for a second. There we go. All right, awesome. We're where we need to be again. All right, so how do we manage these challenges? That's the question that we're left with. How are we going to do this? How are we going to make these challenges, not challenges, but actually things that will work for us? All right, well, to do that, we're going to need to do a couple of things. But the first thing is we need to become a catalyst for change. A catalyst for change. Now, change is scary. Change is something that we as human beings don't like. We like when we can count on them. They're always there for us. They're normal. And we'll talk a little bit more about change, but we need to be a catalyst for change. And before we can really dive into this, let's define the word catalyst. So catalyst, it's a noun, and it means a person or thing that precipitates an event or change. And we want to be that person that precipitates a change. That's what's going to work for us. We need to embrace change. We need to not be scared of change. We need to say, all right, budget cuts, we will find a way to deal with that. That's a change. All right, great. Greater demands on resources, we'll deal with that. Everything that we have in terms of expectations, doing more with less, we will deal with that as well. That's part of change. As being a catalyst for change, we're going to embrace it. So let's talk a little bit more about that. All right. So change. There's two types of change. We have expected change, like if you were going to move, you would start setting up for everything. You'd save your money, you'd pick out the kind of neighborhood you want to live in, you'd find out exactly what the going rate for houses are in that neighborhood, you'd scope them out, you'd look at pictures on the internet, you'd do a lot of work, you'd prepare for this change. You'd build yourself up to kind of like cut ties with that old house that you've lived in for the last 15 years. And you would say, all right, we're going to move on to a new house. That's expected change. It's like evolution. It takes a long time. And then there's the change like, I'm sorry, but your budget is being cut by 30% next month. Unexpected change. Revolutionary change. Kind of like what happened in this Arab Spring that we had this last year. So change, there's two different types. But either way, we need to embrace change. We need to find a way to make change work for us and leverage change. So here's a couple of things I want to give you. We need to be able to take change, and we need to make change drive us to either act or react, and really to propel us forward. That's what change is going to do to us. As human beings, we keep going on. We don't sit there and curl up in a ball and just wait to die. We do something about it. And that's why we need to act or react when we have change. The other thing we need to do is adapt and evolve. Adapting and evolving is really what's going to separate us from the people who are no longer doing what we do. We're in an age right now, especially in this economy, and I talk to people across all different sectors, public sector, private sector, different industries. It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Change is going on, and it's not pretty. And the budget cuts and the different economies that are hurting everybody, it's out there. So the big thing about that is it's forcing people to learn how to survive, how to adapt, how to make things work when it doesn't seem like it's going to work. And that leads us to what I like to call professional Darwinism. Think about it. It's survival of the fittest. How many of you, to get a little interactive here, how many of you are facing these budget cuts? Okay, it's a good number of you, most of you here. How many of you are having to do more with less resources? How many of you have the same expectations or greater expectations placed upon you every single day? All right, for those of you that are not raising your hand, either dessert, is that great? Or you're not married. I got you back. All right, awesome. I love how everybody's married. It's like, yes, I get it. Especially the guys out there. We always have expectations. Okay, so that's our professional Darwinism. It's survival of the fittest out there. In the private sector, it's going on all the time. If you don't produce, you die. You're done. Goodbye. If you don't adapt and change, you're done. If you're an organization and if you don't adapt and change with this economy and you decide to stay stagnant and wait it out, you die. There are businesses that are going under because they don't change. The businesses that adapt to this economy are getting stronger. They're getting leaner. They're finding new ways to do things. This is what's so exciting about this economy, by the way. It's forcing us to do things with a different perspective, with a different mindset, with a different outlook that gets us to a different place by doing different things. It's making us better, making us stronger. And it's tough. It doesn't feel good while we do it. But when we get to the end of that road, when we get to the light at the end of the tunnel, we're all the better for it. And this is where innovation will happen. And this is what's so exciting about talking to you tonight. All of you are in the technical field. You're techies. You're the ones who always come out with the cool stuff. You're the, what's it called, early adopters? Or first adopters? Am I getting this wrong? Somebody help me. You look like you can help me out. You're laughing at me. Early adopters is good, but I'm wrong on that, aren't I? What's the correct way of saying that? First adopters? Early adopters. All right, great. We'll go with that then. Thank you, table 2. All right. So that's what's exciting about what you do. You're able to go ahead and make change happen because you innovate and because you're going to take these challenges head on. All right, you're like, all right, stop talking about this already. Let's get moving. I love it. She said, yeah. Awesome. Cool. I love feedback. This is great. You're going to be my next volunteer, by the way. I'm kidding. You won't be. All right. Okay. So I want to know, are you a survivor? Can I see my survivors out there? How many of you feel like you're a survivor? You've gone through this. All right, that's a good number of the room. Awesome. The rest of you, you're not there yet, but you'll get there. Just kidding. All right, so we need to talk about some other things now. We need to talk about building a culture of success. I know this sounds cliche, building a culture of success. It sounds like it comes out of some sort of like leadership manual or some book that you find on the New York Times bestseller list. It's not about that. It's not cliche. It's really about this question, are we really building a culture of success? And what does that take to get there? If we're going to manage this change, we have to set ourselves up for success. We can't just say, all right, I'm going to go out there and change. We actually have to have a way of doing it. So, let's talk about that. All right. What we need to do is we need to foster an environment. We need to foster an environment amongst our teams, amongst the people that we work with. This is what is really so important. Now, how many of you are managing a good number of people, or a large department, or division? Okay. How many of you wish you were doing that? Wow. Really happy here. Just playing. All right, so we need to foster an environment. You're leading teams. You're doing great things out there. But to do that, we need some key ingredients. And here they come. We need teamwork. Teamwork is huge. We need to be able to have great teamwork amongst our team. We need to do that by making sure that we collaborate. I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, a little bit more about me. My first career was in film and television. I went to NYU Film School. I was going to be a film director. That was my big dream in life. I knew this when I was in 10th grade and I picked up my first video camera. And it was something that I was so sure of. So I go off to film school. I'm there and I'm creating these films and I'm doing a great job. My films are very well received. I'm so excited. I finally get to my thesis film, the big film that defines pretty much every film student in their film school career. The thing that's going to be your calling card that gets you that next step when you actually go out into the real world. And I get to this point and an interesting thing happens. I have a crew that's assigned to me. I have a camera person, a lighting person, a sound person, an editor, a producer, and I rely on none of them. I figured, you know what, I've done such a great job so far, I'm going to do everything by myself. So I shot the film, I set up all the lights, I basically connected mics where I needed to connect them, and I edited the film, did everything myself. And it was the biggest dud I've ever made. And I've done a lot of work. But it was my biggest failure in film school. And it was my moment to shine, and I totally didn't. But it was one of the best things that ever happened to me because I failed, but I learned something. And it's something that I always like to tell people. It's not a mistake unless you learn. If you do the same thing again, then it was a mistake. But if you can learn from an experience, then it's a learning experience. And that's what I learned. I learned that I needed to trust these people that I was working with. I needed to leverage them and utilize them and collaborate with them. Because if I can build teamwork and then collaborate with people, then we have a thing called ownership. And that ownership is really powerful. Think about the power that you have to get somebody invested in what you do and what you're trying to achieve by giving them a piece of the pie. So you're building in this teamwork. You're allowing them to collaborate and learn from each other and work with each other and share their expertise and also their opinion. And now you've got this ownership. And the best part is at the end, you get to celebrate the wins and recognize that. And now it belongs to everybody. And that's a big thing that we're learning in change. All of these great things that you were doing before don't work anymore as well as they used to. And now we need to find a new way to do things. And the power of the team is now more important than ever before. And so that's why these ingredients are so strong and so important. All right. So what does this mean to you on an individual level? So let's talk about this culture of success. What does that mean? We talked about a team, but what about you? And what about communication? Well, first of all, you need to be a great communicator. Being a great communicator means that you can send and receive messages and do this at will and do this very well. And I'll give you some skills and some tips tonight to do that. And we'll get some more interactive stuff going on too. Plus, you need to demonstrate your skill in using the information that you receive. It's not just about saying, all right, great, I can communicate. You actually have to do something with it. The last thing is, you need to create great communicators. Creating great communicators means that not only are you out there sending and receiving these great messages and being a great communicator, it also means that you're creating the people who can actually receive your message and do something with it as well. And now you've got a huge network of people that are working with you that can collaborate and also share in the ownership. And that's how you have a culture of success. Now, how many of you, I know we have a lot of techies here, so how many of you are mathematicians or really good at math or love math? I guess just a very few of you. All right. I'm so glad we live in a digital age and you guys are responsible for it. Perfect. Zeros and ones are your game. Well, this is our formula for a culture of success in regards to you as an individual. And that is, be a great communicator. Demonstrate your skill in using information and create great communicators. It's that simple. All right. So let these things get out of here. Now, what do we need to be great communicators? That's the big question out of this. What is that? What do we need to do? What was that? Money? Okay, that would definitely help everybody, wouldn't it? Money kind of solves all problems. But let's talk about communications. What do we need to do to be great communicators? All right, okay. I like this. The women are like, listen. Guys are like, "Rrr." Okay. We need to break down walls. And I love that you said, listen, we're definitely going to get there. So we need to break down walls. And to do that, we need to embrace the message. It's not just about, and it does break down to listening. That's exactly where this is going. We need to be able to embrace the message. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about improv comedy. I've been doing improv comedy for over 15 years. And when I first started, I didn't understand it. I couldn't get it. It was very difficult for me. But it basically came down to a couple of things. And that is, you need to be able to listen. And listen doesn't mean just hearing things. It means observing, understanding what's going on. For example, I made a joke when I came in earlier tonight, and I was talking to the GTRA staff, that when I pulled up to this place and came in, it kind of reminded me of the Overlook Hotel. Does anybody know what I'm talking about there? Yeah, I got some of my Stanley Kubrick Shining fans out there. If you remember the hotel from The Shining, so great. If you walk down a hallway and there's a kid on a little tricycle, run. If there's two twins and they're saying, I want to play with you forever and ever and ever, run. Otherwise, have a great time here at the conference. Just that won't happen. But I'm really excited to go to sleep tonight in my room. But this is what's called observational comedy. It's taking something that you witness or that you experience, and it's not just something that you hear, but it could be something that you see, and using that information. So we need to embrace the message. And the message right now is that we need for you to break down walls. But we can't just embrace the message. We've got to do something more than that. And that is, we need to use the information. And that's really what improvisation is all about. How many of you would consider yourselves to be an improviser? Go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, we've got some problems here. Here's the reason why. Your heart's beating right now. You're not telling it what to do. You're going to get up later on and do something. You don't know what that is yet. When you wake up in the morning, do you know everything you're going to do that day, minute by minute, second by second? No. You're going to improvise things. So you're going to embrace messages. You're going to use that information to then make decisions. And that's the important thing about what we're doing here. And that's what improvisation is all about. And this is how it directly correlates back to communication. So when we do this, when we embrace the message and then use the information, we break down the walls. All right. But we also can do some other things too. We need to stop and listen. Now, I know listening is really important, and we're going to really dive into listening. But we need to stop first. How many of you are football fans? Who watched the, well, let's find out which teams are we watching here first. I should know that. Since I know we've got a lot of DC people here, how many of you are Redskins fans? Okay, we won't talk about that. All right. Let's just skip which team you like. How about that? But let's go back to football real quick. Whenever you played football as a kid, if you did, you always knew that you had to count Mississippis before you could go and rush the quarterback if you were playing like out on the street or in the sandlot. So think about it this way. Stop and listen. Take one Mississippi before you say anything when somebody's talking to you, when somebody is sharing a message. Think of it this way. When somebody is sharing a message with you, when somebody's saying something to you, and you're having a conversation, they're giving you a gift. They're giving you a gift of their thoughts that they've composed and that they care about. And they're sharing that with you. So stop for a second and digest it before you respond. It demonstrates that you're listening, and it will actually mean that you are listening. For us guys, this is really difficult. I'm married, so I get this all the time. I've learned the hard way to stop and listen. There's a very big price to pay when you don't. So, although there's a nice reward when you do stop and listen, and that means the remote comes back to me. I get to have the remote control. So, wow, that joke just went nowhere. Parham, come on. I need you back up here. All right, so stop and listen. That's the big thing. The next piece is, all right, great. So you stopped and you listened, but now we need to restate and reframe. What do we do when we actually get that message, when we receive it? Restate and reframe. What that means is restating means you're restating what has been said to you so that way you demonstrate that you understand very clearly what the message is. The other piece is reframing, which means, all right, great. You know what? I can't restate it because I'm not in the affirmation that I understand it, I get it, I want to move forward. I need some more information. I need you to clarify. I don't necessarily agree with this. So reframing is a great way to do that. And that's how we take the stopping and the listening and then take this a step forward into restating and reframing when people are speaking with us, when we're sharing information with people. And that's the way that we drill down into finding out what is the message? What do we want? What do they want? And how can we go ahead and achieve this? All right. So, there's the listening for you. But it has a relationship to trust. It's an equation. Listening equals trust. Think about it this way. When you were in high school, somebody probably at some point or another, a good friend of yours, told you a secret. And they said, don't tell anybody. Now, if you didn't tell anybody, they trusted you because you took their instruction, you took their message, you took their direction, you listened to their instruction, and you actually did it. You didn't tell the secret. If you told the secret, they're never telling you anything again. But if you did, and you didn't tell anybody, if you did take their instruction, that is, and you didn't tell anybody, then they're going to trust you. They're going to understand that, hey, you know what? You listened, you understood what I had to say, and you're doing what I've asked you to do. So now they trust you. And it's the same thing when we're communicating. Listening equals trust. That's actually the mantra of improvisation, by the way. Listening equals trust. There's another one called yes and, if you've ever know anything about improv, but we can talk about that at the bar later. All right. Okay. So there's listening equals trust, but now we need to know what is the emotion behind the communication. There's really 3 questions that we need to know, and this is the first one. What is the emotion behind the communication? Now, I'm speaking to you, and I know that most of you do your communication via email, right? And a lot of times we can get into trouble because we cannot interpret tone via email. There's only so many all caps you can do. Right. So we really need to understand the emotion behind the communication. That's a huge thing for us. So really make sure that you understand that. It's very big. Whether it's a professional or a personal piece, you always want to understand what is the emotion behind the communication. Think of that emotion as one word and get that emotion. Understand it. It's part of that stopping and then listening. All right. The next question that we have is simply, what is your partner worth? And that is your partner who you're communicating with. That could be a person or a team or a group of people. It doesn't matter. But what are they worth to you? Or better yet, what do you want to be worth to them? Think about that. When somebody is sitting there and they're listening to you speak, what do you want to be worth to them? What value do you want them to place on you? So if that's a high value, then you need to give them a high value. So give them some worth, give them some value. The last question is, all right, great, so you value them, you understand the emotion behind their communication, but now, how can you serve your partner? It's customer service. How can I help you? That's basically the gist of customer service. How can I help you? And sincerely mean it. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. When you receive a message, how can you serve your partner? How can you help them become better? If you help somebody become better, you've now become very valuable to them. If I can help you do anything, if there's some nugget that I could give you that's going to make your life better, I've helped you, I've become more valuable to you. Whatever that is, even if it is filling up your glass later on tonight, I will help you out. I'll make your life a little bit better. But that's what we want to do when we listen. We want to think about what's the emotion behind what they're saying. We want to think also about what's the value, what's the worth of the person you're speaking to, and elevate them. And then we want to serve that person. And those are our 3 questions. All right. So now we want to talk about building networks. And this is where we're going to get a little bit more into how we can transition all this communication stuff and move it forward, move it into this event. And I'm excited about this part because this is where we're going to get a little bit more into about what you're going to do over the next couple days here at the SecuriGov Council meeting. All right, so building networks. Well, building networks is essential to accessing and aggregating information which you can then use to learn and to also use it. And that's really important. We need to be able to leverage our networks. We need to be able to take these people that you're in the room with today and make it go forward, make it work for you. This is an incredible network of people, and we're going to demonstrate that soon. But to do that, we need to be able to value that network. We need to be able to understand it. The next thing is, in a time of limited resources like what we have, our networks and the communication amongst them are critical to our success. All of these people that you encounter, whether it's here at this conference or it's somewhere else, anybody can be that person that can help you. They can be part of that network. Think of the Verizon commercial. Remember the network that always shows up behind the guy whenever he needs anything? Well, you can be that too. You've got a network out there. Go to your LinkedIn connections. How many of you have 500 or more LinkedIn connections? All right, superstars in the room. Cool. Awesome. Well, you've got very strong networks. How many of you have 100 or less? Okay, good. And the rest of you don't even care, or you're tweeting something, or you're finding out the score of the game right now. Was that Detroit and New Orleans? Yeah, all right, good. I got a couple yeahs. All right, don't worry, I won't tell anybody. You're all paying attention. I get it. The last piece is we want to mine our networks. We want to take our networks and we want to cultivate them because, as you can see, it's not only about asking for what we need, but it's also about asking others about how we can help them. Because we're going to get what we want when we help others. It's about giving. We're at that time of the year. That's my cheesiness. But seriously, it's about giving. It feels good to give. When you've got, we're at the holidays now, seriously, and when you have a gift that's a real big surprise, isn't it awesome when you give it to the person that they're going, listen to me, when you give it to the person who's going to receive it, and they open it, and you watch them open it. It's a great feeling to watch somebody open up something that they have no idea what it is, but you know what it is, and it's going to be something wonderful that they love. It's great. So think of your network that way. How can you help them? How can you give them those great moments, those nuggets? All right. So to do this, we need to pay it forward. And I need a volunteer now. Enough of me talking. I've been talking way too long here. I need a volunteer. Can somebody please be my volunteer? I need somebody who really has a good challenge, a good communications challenge. I've got people pointing back there. I need something with like an interpersonal communications challenge. What's something, somebody's got something here that they're facing. I want to help you right now. I'm going to help somebody in this room. Somebody please raise their hand and let me help you. Nobody wants to volunteer for me? I won't make you shout out a word, I promise. I swear. Maria, you're off the hook. You've already come up. All right, I guess Parm's going to be the one. So let's give Parm a round of applause. Parm's taking the bullet for you. I thought you guys were going to be rowdy and come up here and challenge me. All right, I was waiting to get challenged. All right, so Parm, why don't you come over here to the mic because I have mine on. All right, and I need some water real fast. So Parm, why don't you go ahead and tell us about what your interpersonal challenge is. Give us an example of what's going on that you need help with.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that was a question.
Yeah. What do you want me to tell you? You got sold out by Kelly. She was pointing
what is that all
at
about?
you.
An interpersonal challenge?
Yeah, something that's going on that you need help with, a communications challenge.
Well, how personal am I going to get? I haven't had anything to drink yet.
This is not personal, it's professional. Let's keep this professional.
Interpersonal challenge. I would say that, well, you know, there are team members, right, professionally, that there's sometimes, I think, communication barriers with. And I think there's a, you know, it's oftentimes difficult balancing respect and being a supportive manager with being firm and, you know, having to discipline somebody. That's something that I oftentimes struggle with.
Okay, can you give us a specific example without naming names?
I can call her over right now. No.
Wow. I think he just summarized his whole his whole challenge right there with pulling her in here. All right.
I mean, I think consistency, right? You know, if we say, hey, this is what needs to be done, you take the time to explain it, be very detailed. I take my time to explain this how it has to be done, write out plans.
Can you give us a specific of something that's happened recently? That and the OGs. No, but seriously, but just something a little bit more broken down there.
Yes. So a lot of the outreach that I do,
Sure.
I have staff that helps me do it.
Okay.
And there are very clear-cut rules in terms of email templates, what to say when somebody asks a certain question, how to clarify things, what to say on the phone, and
Okay.
it's not rocket science, right?
Right.
And sometimes it does not get followed, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't understand why it does not. You know, there's really only 3 or 4 scenarios, so why is it hard to follow the answers that I give you to help me out, right?
Okay. So he's got expectations where he's got a very clear-cut set of instructions or procedures.
Correct.
And the people that are working for you, or maybe a specific person that's working for you, is not able to follow those procedures or instructions.
So Kelly, get your act together.
It is not.
This has
Kelly.
become an intervention, actually.
Seriously? Yeah.
All right.
Are my parents going to show up next or what?
Yes, they are. All right, it's going there. Okay, so here's what I want to do. You've heard about his challenge. Let's get some suggestions from the audience. I think there's some people out there who can help Parm out here. So what's a suggestion that you would have for him? Anybody?
I totally have that problem.
Lighten up. Okay, that's fine. That's a fair one. Lighten up. Now, when you say lighten up, expand on that a little bit more, please.
Well, sometimes the challenge with expectations is just a failure of communication.
Oh, wow, that went a lot deeper than lighten up.
I know. It's all right.
Okay. Another one right here, sir.
Ask yourself, how serious is the problem? You gave a set of instructions.
Yeah.
It wasn't followed, you know, exactly or precisely to your liking or your instructions or whatever. I mean, so how important was that? Maybe they've got other considerations that, you know, what's important on the job versus what you think's important. Maybe they're making those trade-offs. So we got to say, you know, I gave that specific set of instructions. You know, how important was it that they did or did not follow those in the larger scheme of things?
Sure.
Okay. Another one right here.
Ask the person that you communicated with the feedback that you fed them. Because as we've all discovered with our spouses, oftentimes we say to our spouses not what they understood. Feedback.
So clarify the communication.
By them feeding it back to you.
Right. So restating or reframing. So making sure that they understand and assumptions aren't made, so that way we get exactly what we want. And I saw another hand or two. I have a hand right here in the front. All right. Role-playing. All right, so role-playing. And role-playing is good, because role-playing is important, because sometimes there's an interesting thing, and we use role-play a lot. What role-playing does is it really takes what people assume to be things that work, and it strips them down to their bare core, and you find out very quickly what does work and what doesn't. And a lot of times you uncover a lot of little basic things that if they're just addressed, they fix everything. And role-playing does that quite well. But that's another great suggestion. There was one more, right here. Get new talent.
Yeah, I'll go the other spectrum. So, I mean, if it's that cut and dry, and it's 2011, how many people are looking for jobs?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the other spectrum of what you just got.
I'm glad we're not at the HR conference where they know how much it costs to replace people. All right, we'll take one more. And direct it to Parm, please.
Try to understand why the person is not following the guidance. Maybe they think that their approach is better. So just understanding and having a conversation about it might help you.
And that's a very good point, because it also can bring up that collaboration piece. There may be a better way of doing it, and maybe it's a combination of different ways, or maybe it is your way, but getting them to understand it by making the message very clear and making the expectations very clear as well, but getting them to come on board and own it, now it's something that it's shared as opposed to just a mandate or a directive.
Yeah, all good ideas.
All right, thank you, Parm. Wow, I felt like
That's
this
it.
was an infomercial. All right, great, thanks. Awesome. Okay, so that's our pay it forward moment here. Actually, you know what? I'm going to back up there for a quick second. There we go, we got it. Here's what I want you to do. Do this for yourselves. Think about a communications challenge that you've encountered recently. I'm not going to ask you to come up here with it, but just think about one and just keep it there. And keep it there locked away in your brain for some time during this conference. Now, here's the challenge for all of you. At some point when you meet somebody, ask them, how can you help them? And now that everybody's got one of those challenges locked away in their brains, I'm sure you've all thought of one by now, go ahead and let somebody help you. You all have an incredible resource here. You did not need PhDs in organizational psychology to figure this stuff out. It's like the saying, two minds are better than one. So you've got a lot of resources here. Why not use them? So think about your challenge, and then go ahead and ask somebody, how can you help them? And help each other. All right, pay it forward. Okay, so our next one here is talking about networking, and not that type of networking, but this type of networking, if it pops up. There we go. All right, so I'm going to tell you a story before I help you out with some networking tools just for this conference. When I first started Interactive Training Solutions about 4.5 years ago, I was networking, and I still do, but not as much as I did then. I was networking multiple times a week. I was out at multiple events, even per night. And there was this one night in particular, back in September of 2007, where I was out and going from one event to the other. And I finally ended up at a dinner, and I got there after the dinner had started. And all the tables were 10 tops, meaning that there were 10 people at each table. And the table that was there, I think, am I popping? Am I having an issue? It's handheld time. That's fine. All right. Am I on? Okay. Can you hear me? No? Yes? All right. Is this better? I can do this without. All right. We're good. So I'm at this dinner, and there's only one table left with one open spot. So that's where I'm sitting. I get to this dinner, pop in, sit down at the table, and immediately introduce myself to everybody, to the 9 other people. And as I'm going around the table, and I start to my left, everybody's either C-level, vice president, or director level, with the exception of the woman sitting to my right. Nobody's talking to her. And when I finally get around to introducing myself to her, she introduces herself as an intern. And I figured it out. All right, this is why nobody's talking to you. They've qualified you out of this conversation. You're small talk and pleasantries, but otherwise you're worthless. So I made it my mission for the rest of the night to talk to her and her only. I don't care about anybody else at this table. I probably could get tons of business from them, but I'm going to talk to you. And I spent the rest of that night, the next hour and a half, talking to her and found out a lot of really interesting things about her. Her name, by the way, is Jane. And that's not Jane, because I don't think Jane's going to be happy if I use her real picture. So I've used a substitute, but that's pretty much what she felt like at the dinner prior to me getting there. Why am I here? I feel like an idiot. So I talked to her for an hour and a half. I find out that she likes to DJ on the weekends. I find out that she's quirky, that she really loves HR, that she's going to go and really take her career to the next level because she's going to go back to school and get her master's. And she's really excited about what the future holds for her. Well, I got so caught up into talking to her about her, we never really talked about me or my business or anything like that. It wasn't truly networking. But by the end of the night, she finally felt like she should ask me, hey, what do you do? So I told her a little bit about me, and she was like, wow, that's great. You know, you've talked to me all night. I'm going to come to one of your workshops. We had a workshop that was coming up about 2 weeks later. And she said, I'm going to go to your workshop. And I was like, all right, fine, great. You know, people say that and they don't show up or they don't really mean it. Well, 2 weeks later, she shows up. And Jane shows up at the workshop, which was a workshop on using improvisation and role play, by the way, for business. And she comes with her boss. I was like, wow, all right, great to see you again, Jane. And they come to the workshop. We spend the whole day together. It was a full-day workshop. And by the end of the workshop, they were having a great time. And her boss came up to me afterwards and said, you know what, I really like what you did. I want to bring you in and have you do a workshop for us. And if it goes well, we'll bring you in for more. So I went back and did their workshop for them. And everything went great. And that company's name is Burger King Corporation. That turned into our largest client within the first 3 months of our existence because I took the time to talk to one person. I didn't qualify her out of my conversation. A lowly intern turned into thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And what ultimately would have been years worth of work of trying to penetrate that organization to get that type of foothold, all from one conversation. So think about this room. Think about this conference. Think about the opportunity that lies in front of you. There's a lot of opportunity here. So with that, let's get rid of Jane. And I'm going to bring up this number. And now I want to get interactive with you again. What do you think the significance of the number 1 is? Anybody? I'm sorry, what was that? 1 is the loneliest number. All right, it's our Three Dog Night reference. There's always one. You're going to tell us Jeremiah was a bullfrog next? Okay. Or joy to the world? All right, so what else do you think? What do you think the significance of 1 is? What was that? 1 being shot at. All right, okay. I guess the significance is really going all over the place here. All right, but here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and put your finger up in the air, get your number 1 up in the air, and please put it up there. It's going to be for you. It's not for me. I'm not doing this for me. It's for you. All right, this is how many people you need to meet to be successful at networking. 1. Just one conversation can change your life. You can put your hands down now. That's all it took, that one night. Very unexpectedly, by the way. This was the last of 3 events, and I was exhausted. But by the time that I left, I was like, wow, I had a great conversation. And then you know what happened after that. So think about that. It only takes one person. You don't need to meet everybody in the room right away. You don't need to hand out business cards like you're a blackjack dealer in Vegas, which is fun, but it's not really very effective. And I'll give you a little tip for that right now. This is something that I always tell people in our networking workshop. Think about it this way. You all have business cards. Pretend all of a sudden that your organization said you're paying for your business cards on your own. And magically, boom, there's only one print shop left in the whole entire world. And they've price gouged, and they've decided to charge $100 per business card. And you have a $1,000 budget. So you only have 10 business cards at your disposal. Are you just going to hand one out? You're going to invest in a conversation and make sure that there's something real there before you give them a business card. So save your business card for the end of a conversation and make sure that you invest in communication with somebody else before you just hand something over. Because a lot of times when people hand over their business cards right away, they go into file 13, they go into the trash later on because you can't remember who they are or what they did, or you put them on a mailing list and then they get spam forever, which is always fun. All right, so that's the significance of one. All right. Now with that, I need a volunteer, and it can't be Parham this time, or anybody from GTRA. I need somebody else, and I want to help you right now. I'm going to help somebody for the rest of this conference. This is like David's little bonus. Who wants to be helped? Please. All right, let's hear it for this gentleman who's coming up here right now. You can do better than that. All right. Thank you for helping me help you. And what's your name, sir?
Jim Dahm.
All right, let's hear it for Jim. Come on, I need like a woohoo. Somebody give me a woohoo. All right, Jim, please go ahead and give us your elevator pitch.
My elevator pitch.
Oh, look, he's got the mic. He's ready to go.
I don't think so.
Go ahead, Jim. As best you can.
Okay. I've been in information security for 6 months. I'm really not even an FAA employee right now. I'm an employee of the U.S. Army, and I'm here to learn from all you.
All right, okay. No, that's fine. That works. Now, who do you work for exactly? Can you tell us your company's name and your title?
Federal Aviation Administration, and I am the Safety and Security, or Information Security Manager.
Okay. All right, perfect. Now, I'm going to help you with something here, and I'm going to pull up another picture to do it, because I need pictures. All right, great. That's a nice little spark. So I'm going to give you what's called a spark pitch, and this came about very early on, again, in Interactive, around about the same time that I met Jane. And here's what happened. My daughter at the time was 6, and she said, "Daddy, what do you do for a living? You know, what do you do for your work?" is what she really said. And I remember I was looking at her like, how do I explain corporate training to a 6-year-old? It's like next to impossible. I guess it's kind of like explaining internet security, or you guys probably have that same challenge. I eventually, after about 2 or 3 weeks, broke it down into, I help other people talk to each other better. And that changed every time she would ask me, because kids always ask the same questions over and over again. So every other month she'd ask me and it would change. But one thing I always remembered from that was it always started out with, I help people. And if you notice when I came up here, I told you that I help people, and then I filled in the blank. And that's exactly what I want for you to do right now. Let's talk about some of your benefits, though. What are some of the strong benefits of working with you? What are some of the things that you can do to help somebody out? Just words.
Okay.
You don't have to give me a full-on paragraph.
I can help provide strategic direction and give you access within my organization to funding and strategies for the bigger picture to help with information security down the line.
All right, okay, that's a lot of good stuff there. Now, I want you to pretend that I'm 6 years old. I understood none of that. Okay, so now I'm a 6-year-old and I'm like, hey, can you tell me about what you do? Go ahead and tell me now, and you've got to make it very short and sweet. I help people, and fill in the blank.
I help people understand the future.
Whoa. Jim pulled out the big guns. I love that.
I've got 3 9-year-olds and an 8-year-old.
So he's got 3 9-year-olds and an 8-year-old. Wait, you have 3 9-year-olds and an 8-year-old? Wow. Just give him a round of applause for that. I think everybody at this conference needs to buy you a drink at some point in time. Okay. Wow. That's what you call a full house, okay? And it's done. Okay, that was great. Now, can you say that one more time? And I want you to say that with just real strong conviction. Not that you didn't there, but I know you can say it even stronger. I help people.
I help people see the future.
Tell it to your audience. Don't tell it to me.
I help people see the future.
Great. Now, if he was speaking to you, which he just was, what would you respond with? I need somebody to raise their hand. Other than Maria. Maria, we've already picked on you. I need somebody new. I need this side of the room. You guys are getting away like scot-free. Here, in the back. I'm going to actually come out to you. Hold on. So I can help people see the future. And what would you respond with that?
Where do I send the check?
Okay. What would be something else you might say, though, if he said that to you when you first met him and you said, hey, Jim, what do you do?
The BS comes to mind.
Wow. We'll talk. Wait, I heard something over here. What did you say?
How do you do that?
How? That's the idea behind the spark pitch. To take something that's so vague yet intriguing and turn that into a how. And once you turn that into a how, guess what Jim gets to do next? Hi, I'm Jim. I work for the FAA. And I don't remember the exact title, but a manager of internet security, or is that right? Safety and information security. Okay, so then you can back it up with your regular elevator pitch. And that's what the spark pitch is all about. It's designed to get somebody to say, how? And when you do that, that starts the conversation. It's the spark. It's done. It's very interesting. Think about it this way. I recently did this with a group of MBA students, and we did an exercise. And it went something like this. I had them do a spark pitch. We did this exercise on stage, and then I had everybody in the audience do it as well. And I told them, all right, fine. Now, everybody's seated back down. Go ahead and raise your hand if you have a 3.6 GPA. The whole room raised their hand. 3.7, 90% of the room. 3.8, about 75% of the room. 3.9, 50% of the room. We got to 4.0s. I mean, this is like a very overachieving group. And about like 20% of the room had their hands up. And I said, all right, now take a good look around. That's your competition. And they were going into a career fair. So think about it. They're competing against each other, and they've got to be able to do this in a way where they can stand out. And their spark pitches, they use them, and they were able to stand out from other MBA students and also from the MBA students from their school as well. So when you're out there and you're networking, this is going to get you that how. It's going to lead into that conversation. And then you can stop and listen, you can receive the message, and then you can use it. So Jim, thanks a lot. Let's give him a round of applause. All right, so cool. So here's what I want for you to do now. Think about your own spark pitch. It's as simple as this, and I'm going to take this off. But it's it's not how can I, it's I help people and then fill in the blank. I help people and fill in the blank. You guys are going to be networking for the rest of this conference. Try it out. It's fun. And you can use all sorts of different things. I change mine up all the time. It always changes. And that's the fun part. That's the fun part of networking. There's so many great things to us that we can use. All right. So, with that, I want to give you this. You can't reach the fruit unless you go out on a limb. So take a chance. Use some of these tools. Start embracing change. Stop and listen. Restate and reframe information when somebody shares it with you, and really value what people give you. Use that spark pitch at this conference and have fun. Go out there and grab your fruit. I want to thank you very much. My name is David Suarez. And here comes Paro. All right.
All right, let's give it up for David. I'm very glad my mom and dad